Hey, Joe Zarzaur and Dr. Evan Malone here for another segment of Zarzaur Law TV. Again, we're continuing our series on the closed head injuries or brain injuries. In this third and final segment of the brain injury, Dr. Malone, we're going to talk about we've talked about the anatomy, we've talked about how these injuries occur, and we've talked about the different types of traumatic brain injuries. There's mild and severe. Now, how do they get diagnosed typically, and what is the treatment?
All right, so immediately it's history. So at the scene or at the ER, it's, with the mechanism of the accident, were you unconscious at the scene? And then you'll hear
They always ask that.
Yeah,
Did you lose consciousness?
Yeah, exactly. Do you remember what went on?
Right.
And then, were you ejected from the vehicle?
Did you hit your head on anything?
Yeah, did the airbag deploy? All those things are part of the decision-making process clinically on how to go with the workup. The other one that you hear a lot is the GCS, the Glasgow Coma Scale. So it's 3 to 15. Right now we're 15.
We just glazed over.
Yeah, right now we're 15. 3 is a potato. That's where you go. So based on where you land in there is where they depend on your workup is. Next to that is imaging, CT scan or MRI. Usually in an ER, it's going to be a CT scan. Look for the big bad stuff, fractures, bleeds, dislocations. And then after you get discharged with, you have a concussion, if you need to expand your workup because something's not right, you think you're falling in that post-concussive syndrome, that's where there's MRIs, seeing a neurologist in the outpatient setting, doing EEGs, things like that to see if you have subclinical seizures. That would be part of this.
Many times the ER is going to miss these. They'll diagnose you with post-concussion syndrome or concussion, but they're not going to know whether or not your situation is an active thing or not, because sometimes the CT scan doesn't show the little tiny percolating bleeds that are happening in your brain.
You can come back a day later and have a bleed.
Right. Yeah. So you have to be vigilant about your symptoms. Now, treatment-wise and prognosis-wise, what do they do to diagnose these things? There's these EEGs. Did you mention that?
Yeah, the EEG. And
what is an EEG?
So that's basically looking at the brainwave activity. You wear wires on your scalp, and it can be done in an office or in an ambulatory setting.
We had a client last night. You were looking at records for me in a client's case where they diagnosed a traumatic brain injury. The neurologist did an EEG in the office, and he sent her home with an EEG.
Yep.
They both were somewhat abnormal. The one at home, since it lasted longer because she had it on for the whole, I think, evening, right?
And she kept it with a diary of her symptoms.
Correct. They were able to equate the EEG's objective findings with the symptoms she was having, and the doctor used that information to diagnose a traumatic brain injury related to the car collision she had.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
All right. Now, what are the treatments for these mild and severe?
So for the mild or just concussion, it's just expectant care. So take it easy. Don't put yourself in a situation where maybe you need to be using all your senses. So maybe don't jump in the car and drive right away. So it's basically the stuff you hear on sports concussion protocol. It's taking it easy, making sure you monitor your signs and symptoms. For the severe ones, immediately it's does this person need surgery or some sort of intervention by a specialist? And beyond that, it's for the long-lasting things, occupational therapy, modifying your lifestyle, following up routinely with the neurologist. Maybe you need to be on a medication to deal with your symptoms, like an anti-epileptic if you have something like a subclinical seizure.
Right. So these things can turn into permanent injuries and have lasting lifetime of effects on you. Fortunately, most of them do not, but if you are following the ones that are lasting and permanent, you certainly need to consult with a lawyer if it's because of a car wreck. You can find us on the web at zarzaurlaw.com. Of course, you can always call us at 855-HIRE-JOE2. Thank you.